This week's episode of We Need to Talk is brought to you by our friends at Manscaped. You can get 20% off and free shipping using the code FootballDaily, all one word, at manscaped.com. That's FootballDaily, all one word, at manscaped.com. Right then, everybody knows this is the show that looks at football on the internet over the past 7 days. The 7 days that's seen Thomas Tuchel taking over as Chelsea boss.
I'm used to create this special energy and atmosphere that you need to achieve. It was a total unfair lineup today because I had no reason to leave anybody out. So from now on is the starting point, and we will absolutely focus on our strengths and the qualities that we absolutely have, and we will build a team that nobody wants to play against.
Nicholas Sula showing Thomas Müller exactly how a Rabona penalty is meant to be scored. And Jose Mourinho not happy with the defence after last night's shambles against Liverpool.
Performance totally affected by defensive individual mistakes.
Anyway, today we need to talk about the first half of the Premier League season. Okay, lads, we're pretty much officially halfway through the season now. A little bit over it, actually, for some teams. Some teams have played 20 games. Other teams have played 17, 18 games. But basically, you know what I'm trying to get at. We've completed 50% of the campaign, which I thought would be the perfect opportunity to rank all 20 Premier League teams on their first half of the season performance. Who's done well? Who's had a You know the score by now. Hit that like button. If this video gets over 2,000 likes, I'll make a tier list on deadline day about transfers. I think that's on Tuesday. So an extra We Need to Talk. Does that work? I think so. I will tell you though, it's 9:30 in the morning. I slept like shit. It's with rain. We're still in lockdown in the UK. This could be a mess. If I get any stats wrong, please bear with me. All right, let's start with Arsenal, because they had what can only be described at the start of the season as a disaster. But, in fairness to Mikel Arteta, he seems to have righted the Titanic. It was at the point of splitting in half. He's managed to superglue it back together. I think Saka finding his home on that right wing, the emergence of Smith Rowe, the return of Thomas Partey, Kieran Tierney continuing to impress, and the inclusion of Martin Odegaard means they could have a very good second half of the season. But I just can't forget that first half. Recently, they've definitely turned it around, don't get me wrong, but the worst start in 40 years. I think they went through a period of 1 win in 10 games. Arteta was close to losing his job. The fans are in uproar. I'm really torn here between tier 4 and tier 3. I think they should probably be a tier 4. Can I put them in tier 3.5? No, I'll put them in 4. Moving on to Aston Villa then, and they have had a sensational start to the season, haven't they? Given that they're only really in the division because the ref forgot to turn his goal line watch on. What happened there last year? But nevertheless, forget that, because we did say, daily, that they'd had a sensational summer. You know, Watkins, Cash, Martinez, Barkley, new Grealish deal. Dean Smith was working all sorts of wonders. But even with all of that said, I wasn't expecting them to be battling for top 6, put it that way. I think if they can win their 2 games in hand, they jump to about 4th. I think they're playing some of the most attractive football in the league. Definitely one of the best teams to watch. A better goal difference than Manchester United. I'm almost tempted to put them into tier 1, but no, I'm bottling it and putting it into tier 2. Sorry, Dino. Okay, Brighton up next then. And I know Christopher Hamill would have them in tier 2, wouldn't he? Absolutely erect over the club. And to be fair, the underlying numbers are very good. They play some really nice football, Brighton. And as much as I like to banter Hamill about Graham Potter, he has got them ticking. They just don't score any goals. They should be 7th in the league by expected points. But in reality, let's face it, they're 17th. The strikers are not doing the business. The finishing has been a shambles. I'll put them tier 5 or 4. I'll be kind to Hamill and put them tier 4, but they should really be 4.5. Burnley are up next. Start the season so badly, didn't they? And I'm pretty sure most of us weren't sure 100% that they were going to survive. I don't think they won a game until game week 8. That shows you how badly they started. Let's not forget they lost 3-1 to Newcastle. They conceded 3 goals to Newcastle. How the hell did that happen? But the real turning point, Ben Mee's return, has to be said. Since then, they've taken points off Villa, Everton, Liverpool, Arsenal, Wolves. They spent absolutely nothing in the summer either. Sean Dyche mixing that miracle pot yet again. The start of the season was so bad. Tier 3 or Tier 4, torn between the two. Tier 3.5, but it's going to have to drop to a Tier 4. All right, Chelsea are up next. They're up next. Apparently up north. And they start the season so well. Zach Djellab was so happy. Let's not forget some of these iconic tweets. And to be fair to him, they were in third, 2 points off top at match week 11. So about a quarter of the way through the season, they were absolutely flying. But ever since they lost to Everton, I think it was, it's all gone wrong, hasn't it? 2 wins in the next 9 games. Frank Lampard sacked. Timo Werner couldn't finish a packet of crisps. I don't know what's happened. It's just not good enough. Thomas Tuchel's come in. Given that they spent 220 odd million in the summer, I'm struggling to put them in better than a category 3. Tier 3 or Tier 4. If I put Arsenal in Tier 4 and they're level on points with Chelsea, it's probably got to be Tier 4 too. Sorry, Chelsea fans. Crystal Palace are up next then. 23 points from 20 games. If ever there was a more Crystal Palace season, I'm yet to see it. They can't score any goals. And apparently, Roy Hodgson's ability to coach defence has just gone out the window. I don't really know how it's happened, to be honest with you, because they've conceded the 2nd most goals in the league. He was so solid as a defensive coach, Roy. Maybe the personnel's letting him down a little bit. Look, they're going to be safe. They're going to be mid-table, as they always are. Zaha and Eze have definitely been very, very bright sparks. But overall, it's just meh. Okay. Tier 4. Everton. And Carlo Ancelotti has got them boys purring, hasn't he? They are playing so well at the moment. If they win their 2 games in hand, let's not forget they can go level on points with Leicester, which will be some achievement to be sitting level on points with 3rd place after a bumpy ride last season. Dominic Calvert-Lewin playing brilliantly. Richarlison proving how important he is to this team. James has been in and out of the side with injuries, and that really shows you how well Carlo's got this unit playing, because even without him, they're still picking up big results. Definite top 6 contenders right now. Really impressed by Carlo. Tier 2. All right, Fulham are up next, and do you know what? I'll say it. I actually really enjoy watching Fulham play. They do play nice football. They're a bit like a Brighton at the moment, though, aren't they? They do play attractive football, no cutting edge. I think Bobby De Cordova-Reid's the top scorer with 4 goals. Big bright spot. Adeloma Lookman looks sensational, doesn't he? And there's no way if they drop down, they're going to be able to keep hold of him. Still in the bottom 3, though, aren't they? And I just can't see them escaping. I spoke to Henry Hill about this. Would you have them Tier 4? Would you have them Tier 5? He said somewhere in between. The fact is they're in the relegation zone. It's Tier 5. Leeds are up next then, and do you know what? Bielsa's doing a very good job, isn't he? Newly promoted team, in 12th in the position, nailed on for safety really, first season, which is all you can ask for if you're a Leeds fan. They're playing lovely football to watch. I don't see any Leeds fans complaining about how they play football. There's always a neutral fan that's moaning about them. Would I rather watch Bielsa play in this season or Sam Allardyce's West Brom play in this season? I tell you now, I'd pick Leeds every single day of the week. Yes, they get opened up by the big boys, but it can happen. I think they'll look to adapt those tactics, and they need to adapt those tactics to a point next season, but they're fine. Doing very well for a promoted side. Tier 3. Leicester are up next then. Brendan Rodgers working miracles, by the way, given how many injuries they had at the start of the season. That's been coming for about 10 minutes. Definitely in the hunt for the top 4 yet again. Some would say title contenders. Don't think I'd agree that they're title contenders personally, but I definitely think they're one of the favourites for the top 4. 3rd best goal difference in the league. James Maddison playing his best football in quite some time at the moment. No drop-off post Ben Chilwell's sale. James Justin looks brilliant. Vardy's scoring goals still. Fofana looks one hell of a find. But overall, this is all just proof that Brendan Rodgers is a exceptional coach, isn't it? The There's only one place to put Leicester. It's tier 1. They're having an amazing season. Liverpool are up next, and it's a tough one here because I feel like I'm judging them against their own bar, and their own bar is so high, isn't it? And look at the game against Tottenham last night. They just dispatched them, and they dispatched them with consummate ease. But the simple fact is, they're about 20 points worse off at this stage of the season than when they were last year, and that drop-off is massive. The forward line prior to last night was struggling to score goals a little bit. Obviously, so many defensive injuries. Van Dijk, Gomez, Matip, Fabinho's now got a problem. I do feel sorry for them at the back, and surely they're going to arrest it over the next 8 or 9 days and sign a centre-back. It'd be mad if they don't. So I'm struggling. I know some people will be saying, look, they're not that far off the top of the table, but I think by their own standards, they'd be disappointed with this season. I spoke to quite a few Liverpool fans. I said, what tier would you put them in? They said somewhere between 2 and 3. Quite disappointing, but understandable because of the injuries. So I'm going to be harsh. I'm putting them in tier 3. Manchester City are up next then, and they did start the season a bit nervously, I thought, but they are finding their feet brilliantly recently and have been absolutely smashing it for about 12 weeks now. And they've had injury problems too, haven't they? They've had no KDB at times. They've had no Aguero pretty much the whole season. They've had no Jesus, but Pep's gone purring. They've got the best defence in the league, no doubt about that. Ruben Dias and John Stones probably the best centre-back pairing in Europe right now, alongside maybe Atletico Madrid's. They've only conceded 13 goals. I think Atleti have conceded like 7, which is ridiculous. But yeah, Man City have had a very good season. People will be saying, well, they're not that much better off points-wise to Liverpool. No, but they're playing much better football than Liverpool at the moment. I'm going tier 1, just because I think they're going to walk the league at this stage. And Liverpool's injuries mean it's going to be a hard old season. Manchester United are up next then, and I'm really trying. I am genuinely really trying not to be biased here. Either I say something that's biased and everybody hammers me for that, or I don't, and all the United fans say, you're trying too hard not to be biased. But we have had a great first half of the season. I think even neutrals and rival fans will admit Manchester United have surprised them with how good, maybe a bit fortunate they've been over the course of the first 5 months. Do I believe we can maintain that level? No, I don't. I don't think we're realistic title contenders, but I think nobody would have said we'd be top of the league or second now come mid-January at the start of the season. So hats off to Ollie there, because we're definitely improving. Much better points tally than we had at this stage last season. Edison Cavani has made a huge difference to the team. So to be in title conversations is at least positive, even if I don't overly believe it. I think we were unbeaten in 13 in the Premier League before that Sheffield United disaster, which is incredible. So if I put anywhere other than tier 1, I'd probably get battered. I'm going to have to put United in tier 1. Why do I feel so bad saying that? Newcastle are up next then, and Jesus Christ. Horrendous football on display, by the way. No wins in 9 games now, and they are fully getting sucked into the relegation scrap, even though they are technically better off on points than Brighton. So some fans will be going, well, you can't have Brighton tier 4 and Newcastle tier 5. Yes, I can, because the football is a disgrace. It's honestly a disgrace. I'm putting them in tier 5. I can't believe it. Sheffield United are up next then, and that was an amazing result against Manchester United, even though some of United's defending would have been better suited for the Chuckle Brothers show. I think the wider context for Sheffield United is ugly, isn't it, though? It really is. 8 points from 20 games. Nailed on now for relegation. They are going to go down, despite what was a slightly promising, if overperformance of a season last year. This year, reality is bit. I think, sadly, Wilder got his summer spend pretty badly wrong on Ramsdale and on Ryan Brewster. I think it was 45 million in the end for those two. And they haven't quite worked out. I feel quite sorry for Wilder. They're going to stick with him in the Championship, and I'm sure he'll do well down there, but quite obviously, it's been a tier 5 season. Southampton are up next then, and it's been a really solid half of a season for Southampton. I think Hasenhüttl is doing a really good job with a squad that doesn't necessarily have any stars in it. It's quite a bog-standard Premier League squad with the inclusions of maybe a Danny Ings, James Ward-Prowse, Vestergaard. The rest of the players, I wouldn't say are exceptional. So Hasenhüttl is really doing a good job there. I think they've been very solid tier 3. Potential for a tier 2 jump, but just tier 3 at the moment. Tottenham Hotspur are up next then, and Jose is doing a good job after what was a very, very impressive football. But the football itself, when you watch it, is pretty much dry, and I'm being kind. Like, it's not great viewing, is it? Even Tottenham fans will admit that. But I think at this stage, Spurs fans would sacrifice all kinds of football and probably their own nan to win a bit of silverware. Anything to get that EFL Cup in the bag. And they are banging contention for the top 4 race, aren't they? I mean, last night's result admittedly was a bit of a hammer blow. I felt Harry Kane picking up an injury could be a disaster. But when he's on the pitch, him and Son, probably the best pairing in world football, or at least in the conversation. I'll put them tier 2, but I think they need to be careful with Kane's injuries. They don't slip down the table. And if they slip too far, the dry nature of their football could come back to bite Jose. West Bromwich Albion are up next then. I mean, dearie me. Surely this is going to be the one season Big Sam cannot rescue the club. He's really struggling to stem the tide. They are conceding goals for fun at this stage. Unless Diagne, who's coming in on loan from, I think, is it Galatasaray, is an absolute worldie, they're gone. They just are. Not good enough. Awful to watch. Tier 5. Oh my God, I'm so burpy. Tier 5. West Ham United are up next then, and I suppose the Moyes is firmly back in the building, isn't he? He's producing prime Everton Moyes at the moment. What a season it's been for them. 4 wins in a row now in the league, by the way. Thomas Souček playing like a Afroless Fellaini, and maybe being a bit harsh on him there as well. You've got Declan Rice purring at the base of midfield, Mikel Antonio scoring goals. It couldn't be going any better if you're a West Ham fan, and get even more excited because Jesse Lingard's about to join. And take the piss all you want, that's a great signing for West Ham. We'll be very solid there. The back line looks really impressive. Craig Dawson was a great decision, and that was obviously a David Moyes signing. I actually wanted to put him in category or tier 1, but there was a bit of bite back in the Football Daily group, and they said tier 2. I think 1.5 would be fair, but I've kind of, anybody who's been halfway, I've gone down, haven't I? So I'll put them in tier 2. Maybe tier 1 though. Finally, Wolves, and this season has been bad for Wolverhampton Wanderers. I think they're one of the worst teams in the league to watch at the moment as well. A bit like Newcastle and West Brom. Without Jimenez, they've just got no focal point. It's a team of wingers just crossing it into empty space. Pedro Neto's been a bit of a highlight, I suppose, but they've scored less goals than Brighton. And we tear Brighton's forward line apart. It's been a real shame, that Jimenez injury. I mean, Willian Jose needs to hit the ground running and hit it pretty fast. Tier 4, I feel like I'm being kind. They could easily be tier 5. Easily. But I'll put them in tier 4 just because that injury, nothing they could do really about it. A bit like the Liverpool problem. Alright, so that was my tier list of every Premier League team's first half of the season ranked. I'm sure I'll do one at the end of the season as well, and there'll be dramatic changes as Man United plummet down the table to about 9th. But yeah. Anyway, that's the end of another episode of We Need to Talk. Sorry I was a bit spaced out. I'm a bit tired this morning. Lockdown, it's finally starting to grind on me pretty badly. But either way, remember this episode is brought to you by our friends at Manscaped. You can get 20% off and free shipping using the code FootballDaily at manscaped.com. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. See you later. Bye.